Welcome back, everybody. Angel Arts here, and this is another video of Gay Let's Play Dragon Age Inquisition. In our last episode, we wrapped things up over at the Western Approach, got our specialization, and I am now officially... Art is officially a Knight Enchanter. This is exciting. Still need to spend time putting points into it, though, but as I said in the last video, this video is going to be Codex, and more Codex. As usual, feel free to skip this if you're not interested, and I will see you in the next video. So let's go. Characters! Dorian Pavis. Only child and heir presumptive to the senatorial seat of Magister Halwald Pavis. I already know this. Thought I already read this. I think I already read this. Okay, so Professor Friedrich of Seralt. Anton, if anyone alive can answer your questions about the social habits of the greater Vimark Wyvern, it is Frederick of Seralt, Professor of Draconology at the University of Orlais. I've met him a few times, and he is exceedingly knowledgeable about his field of study, although less knowledgeable about his current state of dress, the day of the week, and the location of his quill and ink, but nonetheless quite brilliant. Cordially, Magister Zaldaron Antonitis. Yeah, so he's a little bit of absent-minded professor. I guess I can kind of see that. If you have such focus intelligence on one thing, if that's what's filling up your mind, then all of the other stuff, other common sense stuff, kind of has to get dumped out because your mind is so focused, it needs to fit all of that knowledge into it that you kind of end up neglecting some of the, more common sense stuff. Apparently there's still someone starved. I don't know who have I not... It says there's still okay, good. I was like, who was I wasn't sure who I ended up clicking. It was somewhere up here. Dorian, Colin, Grand Jonah, Hero Ferelden, High Chancellor Roderick, Iron Bull. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I read about all of these people. Crafting materials. Deathroot. Deathroot has been used in magic and potion making for centuries. It's a fragile-looking plant with a thin stalk and purple flowers, which fruits once a year, developing bright and red fleshy pods that cause disorientation and dizziness if ingested. There are two varieties. The more common Arcanist deathroot was first found by Archon Hadrianus, when he discovered it growing on several dead slaves. Ooh. The other, Lunatic's deathroot, is most closely associated with the story of the courtesan Melusine, who sought revenge on a powerful magister and his family. She harvested the plant, baked it into small pies for the magister's banquet, and presented them to the magister at a banquet. All the guests were seized by terrifying hallucinations after eating the pies and tore each other to pieces. Oh my gosh. An excerpt from the Botanical Compendium by Inez Arsenia, botanist. Ghoul's beard. Ghouls don't really have beards, do they? I imagine some do if they had beards before becoming ghouls, that is. What? You don't think they grow them after beghoulement? Beghoulement? Anyway, isn't it caused by the blight? Nothing can grow on blighted ground. I don't think that apples to hair. I don't think that applies to apples. It's getting late. I don't think that applies to hair, does it? Skin isn't really ground. Why are we discussing this? I'm bored. Can you believe she's forgotten she already talked about Ghoul's beard 2 weeks ago? Be nice. She's mature. It's hardly useful unless you want to kill someone, ruin their minds, or some ghastly combination of the two. There was that one story about a cat that chewed on Ghoul's beard and ended up bursting into flames. You're just proving my point here. Ugh, I hope she doesn't make us touch it again. That thing is so repulsive. Plants really shouldn't be hairy. Like a Ghoul's beard. Haha, stop laughing. I think she heard you. She's coming. Notes passed between apprentice mages during the lesson. And I've had my hands all up on that thing. Creatures. Bogfisher. These were those armored Bronto-looking things in the Fallows Mire. I accompanied Marquis d'Archambon upon his expedition reluctantly, although d'Archambon insisted that an exploration to show me the truth and beauty of the world might assuage the consternation with which I observed it. As we entered the caves, the cold and brackish water dripping incessantly, we came upon a hulking beast, whose great flapping paws slapped the stone. In countenance it was broad, its flaps of hide hanging loose across its bristled back. D'Archambault drove it away, laughing at its clumsiness, heedless of the delicate fangs protruding at unknowable angles from its distended maw. He said the beast, or bog-fisher as the locals called it, was a failing vestige in the land of men, fit to be tamed or slain. That night we camped beside an underground lake, its rippling waves a susurrus of inhuman whispers. The sepulchral emptiness of the starless night was vast, our own fire pitiful in its sullen rebellion against the unending dark. The bogfisher slipped from the lake, its flapping paws perfectly equipped to propel it through the water. Its spiny maws closed upon the Archambon. Then the Marquis was gone, his frantic thrashing all we could see in the frenzied white water as the bogfisher pulled him under. That night I knew that this is not the land of men. The lightless, the lightless, torpid waters are not tamed. Men are but ants crawling witlessly across a lily pad in a pond. Most think the emerald land bound to their tiny will. Those few who peer over the edge and see the leviathans, pale-bellied, scales shimmering in colors with no name, swimming beneath them, can only scurry away, trying in vain to articulate the vast and uncaring terror that awaits. What my eyes have seen, my limited mind may never comprehend, but I shall never draw near dark water again. The bog-fisher has taught me well. From an Anatomy of Various Terrible Beasts by Baron Havard Pierre de Mortesan. The bog-fisher likes hiding in dark places and water. Master does not like baths. Footnote in the margins of manuscript by the Baron Scribe, Dunwick. Yeah, those things are kind of crazy looking. Hyena. The common hyena is a remarkable predator, flourishing in the harshest of conditions. Packs working in concert have sometimes taken down prey as formidable as a great bear. It's an incredible sight, but you should keep your distance because one of those beauties took down my Bronto in under a minute. From The Wilds of Thetis, Volume 2 by Stefan Diarian. Phoenix. Orlesians believe the phoenix to be a herald of woe, perhaps because the creatures frequent inhospitable places where sane travelers fear to tread. It may also be because they belch a sort of sulphurous gas that reeks of rotten eggs and ancient peat bog, and flocks of the beasts have a pervasive odor of death about them. Orlesians are not always so metaphorical as they like us to believe. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Jenny TV. This is really interesting because normally in fantasy settings, in fantasy literature, the phoenix is not a foul-looking creature. There are these magnificent-looking birds of fire, not the four-legged creatures that we found in lizard-looking creatures that we found in the desert. And then there's that whole, dying and then coming back, rising from the ashes sort of thing. And in many fantasy settings, phoenixes are forces of good, and not hostile unless they absolutely have to be, I guess. Well, maybe they're hostile. I'm not sure. But anyway, they're meant to be majestic creatures, and the phoenixes that I saw in the desert were not. I didn't think that were that majestic. So it's an interesting that developers decided to take the phoenix creature and just make it completely their own in the Dragon Age universe. Poison spider. The dawning of our understanding was violent and terrifying, made all the more so because of the mistaken awe and glory it replaced. We had walked into the cavern on the word of the shaman, and we were not disappointed. Row upon row, an army of dusty figures, men and women, pack animals, and what appeared to be staged tableaus of scavengers as though silent commentary. We imagined it the toy battalion of a mad king funded by mountains of gold, or the subjects of some cruel empress sealed away with her upon her death. It was, to all of us, a wondrous sight, and yet another example of how we mortals are pretenders to creation and immortality. And then we asked ourselves, why are they all looking upward? And the answer was upon us. A sound from above, and then legs, fangs, and poison. I do not know the number, less than my nightmares bear, but still too many. Only quick fires from our circle apprentice allowed us to retreat, but not all. Several of our numbers were paralyzed in an instant, as must have been the chase for so many before. When I close my eyes, I see them, new recruits to that silent army, frozen in praise of a moving ceiling, waiting to be hollowed. Ugh. Excerpted from We Need Not Demons, Our Dangerous World, a collection of natural horrors and wonders, edited by Philium, a bard. How pleasant. Revenant. Oh yeah, these things. These things. The Revenant that we saw in this game so far wasn't as formidable as the ones in Origins. The ones in Origins, the Revenants in Origins were, I think, the toughest ones. The ones that really were super powerful. Dragon Age 2 Revenants, I think there were Revenants in that one, were medium. And then the Revenants here were powerful, but not noticeably so compared to the Origins one. Maybe they get more powerful, I don't know. An entire unit of men, all slain by one creature. I didn't believe it at first, your perfection, but it appears that this is so. We have a survivor, and while at first I thought his rantings were pure exaggeration, it appears to be no simple skeleton. The descriptions of the creature's abilities were eerily similar to those our brothers at Marnas Pel encountered almost an age ago. Men pulled through the air to skewer themselves on the creature's blade, an attack so quick that it was able to assault multiple opponents at once. No, your perfection. What we have here is indeed a revenant and nothing less. From a letter to Divine Amara III, 571 Exalted. A revenant is a corpse possessed by a demon of pride or of desire, making it among the most powerful possessed opponents one can face. Many possess spells, but most are armed and armored and prefer the use of their martial talents. They are weak against physical attacks but regenerate quickly, and commonly use telekinesis to pull opponents into melee range should they try to flee. Yeah, those are annoying. Revenants also have the ability to strike multiple opponents surrounding them. Stay at range if possible and strike quickly. That is the only way to take such a creature down. Noted. Varghest. The Varghest is not known to be a distant relative of wyverns, and dragons, but in ancient times it was believed to be a spirit manifest in the world. Syrian legend says that the Varghest hunters those who have committed great wrongs, that the Varghest hunts those who have committed great wrongs against their own kin, and when the creature finds its quarry, it drags the guilty party to the gods for judgment. This is perhaps due to the beast's hunting habits. Varghests prefer to bring prey still living to their nests to feed their young. From a study of southern Draconids by Fererdic of Serol, published by the University of Orlais. There's still another creature that I haven't... I'm not sure. Oh. Quillback. Those men of learning who claim dominion over the cold, weirdly angled laws of this world could deny that unutterable savagery of nature, conjuring their knowledge that man in repose draws a blanket over himself. Somnolent, to distract from cognizant mind and lethargic caliginosity of this world. Such mendacity is made manifest in the quillback. Its hooked beak describes a smile that makes mock of the laws of man and maker, and in the sagging folds of its rough and squamous hide lies no elegant simplicity. But look upon its dorsal ridge for the proof, if logic be a refugee, for in the ebon spines that jut uncaringly from its back, no man of learning can fail to see the cold and twisted spires of the black city itself. What maker would give mock to our Abulian transgressions? This guy has awesome vocabulary. What maker would give mock to our ebullient transgressions by marking his domicile into the flesh of this repugnant eater of flesh, this scavenger of wastes and deserts? Scavenger of wastes and deserts. Wastes and deserts. What message can any man read in this carrion feeder's decrepit spines than that the golden city of which we dream is black, always black, the swollen infection, poison from time beyond the knowledge of our insignificant minds, awaiting only our unheeding touch to afflict us with understanding of our true place in this vast, uncaring world? From an Anatomy of Various Terrible Beasts by Baron Havard Pierre de Mortisson. Master means that it's pointy. Master means that it's pointy. Footnote in the margins of the manuscript by the Baron Scribe Dunwick. Thank you, Dunwick. Groups. The Avvars. Driven across the Frostbacks in ancient times, the Alamare tribesmen split into 3 groups. One settled the Ferelden Valley, one was pushed into the Kokari Wilds, and the last returned to the mountains. Modern Fereldans bear little resemblance to their Alamare ancestors, and the Chasyn remember few of their traditions, but the Avvar have changed little throughout the ages. Like the Chasyn, the Avvar are not a united people. Each tribe fends for itself, and it is beholden only to its thane. They still follow their own gods, Korth, the Mountain Father, Hakon, Winter's Breath, the Lady of the Skies, as well as dozens of animal gods never named to outsiders. Nothing lasts in the mountains. Wind and rain eventually eat away the strongest holds. Valleys that were arable one generation are locked in year-round ice in the next. Game is constantly on the move. Even among themselves, the Avvar make no absolute promises. They wed by a tradition in which the groom struggles to unite a tightly knotted rope, while the bride sings a hymn to one of the gods. However many knots he has undone by the time her song ends is the number of years she will spend with him. So if the woman doesn't really like the man, she can like sing a super quick, this is your birthday song, it isn't very long. This is the second verse. It's shorter than the... Yeah. Anyway, however many knots he has undone by the time her song ends is the number of years she will spend with him. Lowlanders often forget that there is no such thing as permanent alliance in the Frostbacks. From Ferelden Folklore and History by the Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Places. No. Places. Places, everyone. Antiva. In the rest of the civilized world, it is common belief that Antiva has no king. I assure you, gentle readers, that is untrue. The line of kings in Antiva has remained unbroken for 2,500 years. It is simply that nobody pays any attention to them whatsoever, because they always get killed by assassins, I'm assuming. In truth, the nation is ruled by a collection of merchant princes. They are not princes in the literal sense, but heads of banks, trading companies, and vineyards. Their power is conferred strictly by wealth. But Antiva is not primarily renowned for its peculiar form of government, nor for its admittedly unparalleled wines. Antiva is known for the House of Crows. Since Antivans are well known for being good at everything but fighting, it is more than a little ironic that Antiva possesses the most deadly assassins in the world. Their fame is such that Antiva keeps no standing army, no king is willing to order his troops to assault her borders, and no general is mad enough to lead such an invasion. The attack would likely succeed, but its leaders would not see the day. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genitivi. The Still Ruins. 24 Harvest Mere. A pair of hunters arrived today from the western approach. They carried a third between them, unconscious. The hunters found the man wandering the approach. He collapsed at their feet before they could learn his identity. The rough stories you hear, I'm surprised they didn't slit his throat and call it mercy. Instead, they lay him alongside their prizes and took him from that place. Sarai forced him to swallow water with a mixture of herbs. Elaine says he will show me how to make it tomorrow. 24 Harvest Mere. Sarai and Elaine left the patient to my care. They believe the man will die, so what harm could I do? Still, I prepare the herbs with care. I do what I can to make him comfortable. The man murmurs in his sleep. Something about there being no wind? I would open the window, but the air is chill, and I fear it would weaken him. 5 First Fall. My patient opened his eyes. Vargas took the rest. Then I found it. Everything so still. There was no wind. He seemed quite intent. In the western approach, I asked? Oh, a soldier. This last about the figurine I placed on his bedside table for Saturnalia. Foolish, but I thought it might cheer him. 8 First Fall. My patient took a simple meal. Speaking wearies him, but he tried. Everything was so still. There was no wind. I told him that sounded peaceful. His eyes widened in fear. The demons were still there. I tried to comfort him, but he was desperate to explain the disturbing images in his mind. Later I saw him staring at the little soldier. They couldn't move, he murmured. I said I could take the toy away, but he shook his head. 21st fall. Sarais and Elaine declared my patient well enough to travel. He left before I returned from visiting my sister. I suspect his still ruins were a delusion brought on by his trials in the approach, but I will never know. I wish I could have said goodbye. Sarai says he took the soldier with him. Perhaps it was a comfort after all. From the journal of Nicolette Enver's Healer's Apprentice. Yeah, the still ruins are pretty crazy. The western approach. Once these wastes were a land of plenty. Can you believe it? The rain came north over the Gamordan peaks, turning the plains green and verdant for 3 months of the year. 800 years ago, that changed. During the Second Blade, Darkspawn spilled out of an enormous crack in the earth, corrupting it with their foul blood, and it never recovered, even after they were driven back underground. The Grey Wardens built Adamant Fortress to stand watch over that chasm, but eventually even they abandoned it to the wind and the biting sand. What few of us eke out a living in this maker-forsaken place do so knowing that any number of deaths await us. Darkspawn raids, dragons, bandits, not to mention starvation from the lack of water and game. If we stay, it is because we know there are treasures buried in the bones of this place, ruins from the time when Tevinter ruled and even earlier. We pass tales around our campfires of the things we may have seen shrouded in the dust storms. My favorites are the ones about relics that could restore the western approach once more, but I don't believe them. The truth be told, on nights when the wind is calm, I can stand on a hilltop and see for miles in the moonlight over a stark beauty of which no other Orlesian can claim to know the equal. On those nights, I hope it will never change. From Lands of the Abyss by Magistrate Gillis did San Christi. Resources found here: elfroot, spindleweed, blood lotus, dragonthorn, witherstock, deathroot, deep mushroom, ghoul's beard, serpentstone, lazarite, paragon's luster, and everite. I'm wondering if I can... I know there was one character here that I didn't read about. I read about Corypheus, I think. Divine Justinia, High Chancellor Roderick, Hero Ferelden, Grand Enchanter Fiona. I'm not sure. Iron Bull, Josephine Montelier, Liliana, Lord Seeker. I don't know, guys. And Alexius I read about, right? Professor Frederick, Queen Honora MacTier. Yeah. Samson and Delilah. Solus, Sarah. Okay, I don't know who I didn't read here. Sorry, guys. Anyway, that's was short and sweet. So thank you guys for watching this episode of Gay Let's Play Dragon Age Inquisition. Tune in next time, everybody, and until then, love yourselves and love each other.